There are a couple of things that I want to show you here. The first one is to how to change properties. And just as a disclaimer, this is not the recommended way to do it, but we need to understand how the properties work, how to change it, and why we don't recommend this way, and why we have the the next tomorrow we are going to see the recommended and the supported way to do it, and why it's easier for you to do it in the way that we are going to show you tomorrow. But you need to understand how to change it the ugly way in order to be able to see the difference. And the second thing that I want to show you now is the difference between the deploy war Tomcat, and there is another task that is called deploy war Tomcat backup. Basically, the backup, the deploy war Tomcat backup, as its name says, it will create a backup of the data that we have in dotCMS before creating or compiling everything and replacing everything. So bear with me just a moment, and I will show you the example that I want to display. This is the demo site. I'm going to close this. I don't need it. I'm going to play just with the local host. Basically, what I want to do is just go into the site and the browser page, and I'm going to create a folder. Clicking here in the demo, I'm going to create a new folder that is called, let's see, training. It's called training, and that's it. And inside that training, I am going to create, let's say, a new page asset, and this is going to be the training page. It's going to be an empty page, and let's set up this to 0 HTTL in order to see the changes reflected immediately. This is going to be the blank template, so look for editing, and we are going to add new content. Let's just input a new content, test content, test, and that's it. This is our new page. So let's say that you are working with this page, several other things, and you have to change something in your source code. Now, the different ways to do it is via the deploy war Tomcat, the one that we did the first time, and via the deploy war Tomcat backup. So if you do the deploy war Tomcat backup, this is going to save everything that you have right now in order to be used in the future. But it takes a little longer than the deploy war Tomcat. And this is because basically both tasks do the same. Both tasks goes into the Tomcat 8 folder and removes everything under the Tomcat 8 web apps. This root folder is going to completely disappear when you do a deploy war Tomcat backup or a deploy war Tomcat. So the first thing is going to disappear. So everything inside the web application is going to be deleted. Then the source code is going to be compiled again. Then everything is going to be deployed. We are going to create a WAR file, and we are going to explode it here. But as we did the change directly in the dotCMS using the database and everything, in this case, everything inside this folder was deleted. And that means that we deleted the assets. That means that we deleted the .secure. That means that we deleted also the H2 database that I think it is under, let me see if I can find that here, in WebInf H2 database. This is going to be deleted also. So everything here is going to be deleted if we do deploy war Tomcat. That's what I'm going to do right now in order to showcase what is going to happen. So the first thing is going to be Shutdown, remember that use the dot scripts, so dot shutdown in this case. And now I am going to do a deploy war tomcat. Let's wait until this is done. Okay. And now I'm do a deploy war tomcat again. We can take a look to this folder where we have all of our information. Wait, just before this, I'm going to kill this. Just before this, let's change also the property. So I'm going to use Sublime. You can use any text editor. I'm going to use Sublime and I'm going to open this folder. Yeah, the one that I'm currently at. Let me just close everything here. These are my local nodes. Okay. Here we have the dotCMS. The couple of property files are going to be under, just go into source, main, resource, I think it's resources, here, .marketing config, this one. And there are a couple of properties that I'm going to change. One is show velocity files and the log velocity templates. Let's change this one, the show velocity files, and change it to true. I'm going to save it. So basically what I'm doing is going directly in the property files and changing the property. And now I'm going back to the terminal and I'm going to do the Gradle deploy war tomcat. And let's wait until this finish. Will take like 60 seconds, something like that. And take a look to this. As you can see, the web apps, the root folder inside the Tomcat web apps, it's already gone. So everything under that, it has been deleted, removed completely. Right now we are compiling everything. We are creating the WAR file, and this WAR file will contain our new updated properties and everything else. And it's going to be exploded here inside the web apps folder. Let's take. Okay, we are ready to start. Here I'm going to start. Again, as we did deploy war tomcat, we deleted everything. That means the database, the assets, and the .secure. So there should not be any .secure or assets or folder here. We can take a look on the root. As you can see, we don't have any of those folders. So let's wait until they are created. Okay, .secure is there, and then it's going to be the assets. And now we can take a look to the .cms log. It is importing everything because the database was removed. So it assumes everything is completely new. So let's wait until .cms starts. And here I'm going to localhost. I'm going to wait over there. Let's see. Again, this is the first time that we start .cms. Every time that you start .cms from a clean database, it will take a lot longer than when you just restart with the same database assets and .secure. So basically, those folders, the assets and .secure and the database are the most important things in order to preserve the data that you have. Let me see. If you want to save those information, if you want to reuse that information every time that you compile everything in any new class or any new JSP in dotCMS, you need to use the deploy where Tomcat backup. We have a list of, you can go into the terminal and run the Gradle W tasks, and you will see a list of with the descriptions and the names of the tasks that we have for the developers. Let's see. So you can see here, this is the one that I'm talking right now. This is the deploy word Tomcat that we have been using, and this is the deploy word Tomcat backup. This is going to use or do the same that the deploy word Tomcat, but it will also backup and restore the assets, the .secure, the meta-inf, and the H2 database folders. And this is very useful for development, as the description says. So just keep in mind that you have that option also. Let's see if this started already. Okay, seems like there is. Okay, so if you see this problem, it is because the session in the in .cms still has the identification number, the page that we were updating in the request. So basically, .cms tries to fetch that information automatically for you. It assumes that it is still in there, but it tries to find it and it doesn't exist in the cache or in the index or in the database, and it displays that error. So you just can ignore that. And let's say go to browser, site browser, and as you can see, we don't have the training folder. We don't have the page, we don't have anything that we created. And that's why it will be cool, that you can use also the Gradle deploy where Tomcat backup. The other thing that I wanted to show you is to, let me just log out and hit the front end of the .cms. So the property show velocity files is set up to true. When we run the process, the velocity file, .cms is going to spit out some of the intermediary files that demonstrate how the system is processing through the page code and everything. What I'm going to do is just to open the main page here, the index site. Why did I had to close the other session is because I was already logged into the backend. So if I try to open this page, it will be take automatically to the backend page where I can edit that specific page, and that's what I'm not. I don't want that in order to showcase this example. You can use an incognito window, or you can just close the session and go into the page that you might want, into the front end. And now, after doing that, I am going into the same folder that I showed you before starting or restarting .cms. It was under WebInf, it was under .secure, velocity, dynamic, live. Just see, because it's not displaying. Let me just see if we change the property show velocity equals true, but I'm going to open the Tomcat Sublime Tomcat 8. Okay, this is the Tomcat 8. I'm going under web apps, root, WebInf, classes, and I'm going to open this one, .marketing, but let me just see, show velocity, but right now this is false. Let me just shut down the server. back to this true. Change directly in the marketing config inside the moving classes and start up the server again. And take a look to the dotCMS log. These errors are from the previous shutdown. Let's wait until dotCMS starts again. And as we already have everything in place and we just changed a small property without the deploy word Tomcat, it should be starting pretty soon, and it should be quickly. Okay, dotCMS is starting right now. It will configure everything that it needs, for example, the index and the caching, but it doesn't need to import everything because it's already in there. As you can see, it configures everything from the Hazelcast, Elasticsearch. Let's see if we hit again this page. Okay, this page is ready, and go back to the folder that we were looking, dynamic, live. And as you can see here, there are a bunch of different files that have been created during the rendition of the page. You can format the code to see how the page is built. If we refresh the page, we are going to get the cache version if it is configured. But right now, the first time it should be rendered and it should be evaluated by velocity, and it's going to create all of these files because of the property that we change. If we open one of these, let's say, for example, if we open this template, let's see if we can open it. Well, we can open it on this link that we have already there. It's under web apps, root, .secure, velocity, dynamic, the live one, and for example, the template. So basically, this is grabbing the template and it's parsing its content. Then, for example, this is one of the, the containers, and let's open some of the containers. This is the ID of that specific container, and the extension is what it means inside of CMS. For example, this ID is a container, this one is a host, and this one is a template. So basically, this is the rendered velocity that we are going to be playing with in the front end. So basically, this was an example of how to change the property, the oblique weight. We can change it during the source code modification or manipulation, and also we can directly change the property inside the Tomcat folder. So the difference is that when we do a deploy word Tomcat, that property modified is going to be removed and is going to replace it with the one that comes from the source code. So you are going to lose all those changes, and that's why it is important to understand this difference, because tomorrow we are going to see the proper and the recommended way to do it, that is via a static plugin. Also, another important thing that we just saw is that the deploy word Tomcat task from Gradle is going to remove all your data that you might have inside dotCMS. It doesn't remove the data per se. It removes the complete folder, the root folder inside the Tomcat. So it removed everything that is under that one. In this case, by default, we have the assets and the dotSecure and the database in there. But by changing some of the properties, you can take a look to the over documentation side. By changing some of the properties, this is more a topic for system admin, but changing a couple of properties, you can go and take those folders outside of your Tomcat web application. So, for example, by switching a couple of properties, you can take out these assets and .secure and also the meta-inf and everything that you need to, and you can place it, I don't know, in the root of your file system or in a specific location. So the next time that you do a deploy war Tomcat, is going to delete everything on the root, but at that time you are not using the assets or the secure inside this root, so they are not going to be removed. So that's another option, another solution in order to fix those things. We can take a look to that example tomorrow with the static plugins, because everything here, every modification to the configuration files or every modification to the property files that we do in dotCMS, they are not done via, they are not done directly in the property files. They are done via static plugins by many reasons that I am going to explain tomorrow. Another thing that I wanted to say today is the philosophy regarding the database, that it is pretty much what we talked about it earlier. In the 5 different databases that we support, we really try to use them as little as possible via the indexing and caching, so we don't have to overload the database server. So for example, if you have a cluster with 4 or 5 nodes, the database will be put to a lot of stress and would affect the ability to scale up. So some of the key things in the database tables are the following. This diagram pretty much explains the parts that make up a contentlet. Remember that a contentlet, we talk about contentlet in the source code. A contentlet is the content that you see in the dotCMS backend. So these are the key databases that contains a contentlet. Now, understanding the difference between the identifier and the inode, it is extremely important. This is one of the areas that people don't often get straight and really affects them later. So simply put, the identifier represents an information unit, and the inode represents the version of such of a unit. So for example, let's say that you have a son and you want to take pictures of him. So you take a picture when he is 1 year old, when he is 7, when he is 13, and then when he is 18, and so forth. Of course, they are all pictures of your son. It is the same person. He represents the identifier, but they show you how your son look like in a certain point in time, and that represents the inode. So you can see here the diagram. The contentlet table here, this one, it's available in different languages, and also it is related to a structure, as you can see here. The structure or content type, which is the correct name now, also they are related to an identifier here and several content version info records here, which in turn are related to the inode here. So basically, this content could have several languages. Also, the content belongs to a structure. This structure and this content have an identifier, and both have an inode. This is for a structure or content type and for the contents. And then the other part of this diagram that is very important is the content version info. And this is because this tells us what is the working and what is the live version of this specific content at some point. So for example, let's go into .cms backend. We just go into the admin, log in with the default credentials, admin at .cms.com and admin. And here we are going to create a new piece of generic content. So I'm going to content, search. I'm going to add a new content, and it's going to be content generic. Content, content test, content body test. I'm going to save and publish. If we go inside this content test that we just created, and the history tab, you can go into the history tab, you can see both of the data that I was talking about. This one is the identifier. The identifier is the number that is not going to change at any point. This is going to be the same always. And since we entered the information to create the content, we created the first version of this content. And this version will be represented at the inode of the content. So let's go back into the content and change something. So look for editing here, number 2, and click save. Not save and publish, just save to showcase this example. Now the history, again, the identifier is going to be the same, but dotCMS will not overwrite your previous information. It will create another version of that specific content. So when you save the new changes, you will have two inodes associated to the identifier, as you can see here. And the status is what I wanted to show you about the content version info. This content version info, as you can see, it has a working inode and it has a live inode. In this case, the working inode, as you can see here, the orange status is going this one, the one that ends with the 42E. And the live one, that means that this is the one that the front-end user is going to see, is this one, the one that ends with 4EA. So basically, this is what it has, that the content and the content database tables have. The changes that you do a contentlet, it will be stored for always. This goes on and on every time that you make changes to the content. Saving the inodes will allow you to go back to a version of the content that you created, for example, 1 day or 1 month or 1 year ago, and mark that as the current version of the contentlet. When you save a content, you can click save and publish, as you can see here, or you can click save. If you click save and publish, this new version will also be created and will be put as the working as the version. So for example, let's go back to the content and do a third version of this, and click and save and publish in this time. And if we go back to the history, as you can see now, the working, because this is what the working is what we see here in the backend, and the live, the one that the front-end user is going to see, are the same inode. So basically, this table in working inode and in the live inode have the same data right now. And that's how we handle the difference between each of the versions in dotCMS.